This is the Realty Classroom Podcast, episode number 89, recognizing the seller's and the buyer's number one fear. Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan or any plan to help you get there? Well, then, hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action, to get started in the right direction if you're new or a better direction if you're already a veteran, I've created a free jumpstart course for you over at freeagentgift.com. It will help you think strategically right now and forevermore. And I wish somebody had kicked me in the tail and made me do that a long time ago. It would have saved me a lot of mistakes. So here I am trying to help you save yourself from those same mistakes. freeagentgift.com. All right, let's get started in this episode. Recognizing the seller and the buyer's number one fear is a critical component to becoming better at real estate agency. And the first point here is, what is that fear? And again, this is my opinion after many, many thousands of hours and just a few tipping points, maybe a lot of tripping points too. But I find that the number one fear that they all share that has a global effect on the entire process is their fear of being taken advantage of. Let that sink in for a second. Think about it. Right? How can I have the spine or the wherewithal to state that there's this one major fear? I mean, I get it. We could debate this, but I'm trying to illustrate a point here that I think the fear of being taken advantage of is very basic to humans. So that human brain, that lower level thinking, that survivor, I mean, that's where it comes from. Being taken advantage of in the Stone Age meant getting eaten, right? I'm trying to go out today and not get eaten, for crying out loud. I just got to get through this day. And as society has evolved, and there are certainly all these safety nets to protect us from getting eaten alive by the world, you might not see the direct connection, but after thousands of hours of doing this, I'm going to suggest you start that simply and understand that you don't want to be taken advantage of. Think about it. I mean, think about it in simple context too. Some of this might be painful, but let's go there for a second. Have you ever been taken advantage of? Even if you're super smart, you know you have. And you know how you felt. Angry, frustrated, depressed, defeated. All these massively negative emotions, when you think about having been taken advantage of, they just weigh you down. And a lot of that first, reaction is to get up and fight, to be angry, to get revenge, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? We get all fired up about it and we get emotional. So it's this confrontational in the fight or flight basic syndrome. We want to fight. And that's what we do. So anytime that you have a buyer or seller who gets triggered to thinking, there's the emergency button. It's fight time. It's fight time. People rise up. Now, some more passive folks who express their aggression by fleeing, they go dark on you. So, you have these people, and maybe we could break it down by the DISC personality profile. The high I starts ranting and raving and yelling and screaming and throwing the emotional fit, right? And the D just gets really mad. They want to punch you in the face. And the C, and they start to withdraw and, plot your demise. And the S just cannot believe it and just develops this nice grudge, right? Those, if you study the DISC personality profile, those are the obvious reactions from a DISC personality profile. But just in general, man, it just doesn't feel good. I might want to fight you. I might want to just go dark on you, but I'm upset. I feel that you took advantage of me. Now, hear what I just said? I feel. It's my belief that in representing me as a buyer, in representing me as a seller, that you took advantage of me. And here we are as these agents trying to do the right thing with this massively complicated situation that everybody's in. And we're saying, what? What do you mean take advantage of you? Here I am trying to serve you. I'm doing my best. This is so difficult. There are moving parts. And we start to get emotional. So they feel, we feel, they feel, we feel, they feel, we feel. Just crescendoing right up that ladder to all of a sudden, we're all like massively emotional. And logic, gone. There's no logic anymore. There's no system anymore. There's no rationality. We're affronted. They're affronted. We can't believe it. Now we think we've been taken advantage of. just keeps spiraling downhill, right? So the first thing is to recognize in ourselves that fear. None of us want to be taken advantage of either. None of us. And it doesn't take us long to think to one event, big, small, whatever it might be, being taken advantage of sucks. And it hurts, and it just conjures up all those emotions, and we make one of two decisions. We'll go dark and flee, or we'll stand up and fight, whatever it is. But it's just not good. So the second point here is we need to recognize how each consumer is demonstrating that feeling. And you have to be on alert for this. This is not something that maybe it will happen. I think if you recognize this as you're trying, by the way, all you marketers out there who lead with marketing, which we all do, by the way, but as you really start to think about this there, I cannot believe how many people friend me up on LinkedIn. And the first thing they do is ask. There's no giving. There's barely a, hey, hello. And then there's just an ask. And I don't even have context. And I don't even want to know what to say because I'm not trying to be harsh to these people. You know what I do? I'm a high ID. I'm a typical ranter and raver. I've just become somebody who just withdraws. I don't say anything. And it's a bummer because how many times am I going to say, geez, I'm just not interested. Geez, I just wish you would all get it, right? Just get it. Say hello. Hey, nice to make the connection. I saw that you do this. Awesome. I do that. And leave it alone. I mean, if somebody has context with you and somebody's looking at your feed or whatever it is, we understand. But we're getting so conditioned to be taken advantage of. We keep withdrawing further and further. Look at me. I'm not a withdrawing guy. But after a while, enough is enough. We begin to withdraw because I am definitely not going to be taking advantage of. You're not going to trigger me to buy something that I don't need. I don't want to be taken advantage of, and I won't be. So I'd rather just withdraw. And I think that's the problem with this business in general is stop attacking. Stop asking all the time instead of just saying hello, right? I have a little quip with my mastermind members. I said, stop being so humpful like a little brand new puppy who just came home and be helpful. I mean, it's just stunning. So we have to recognize that consumer who's worried about being taken advantage of is us first. Recognize it in yourself. You don't like it. Don't do it. But then begin to recognize it as people come into your life as home buyers and home sellers. Recognize it. In the very beginning, when you first meet them, that's when it's the most heightened. They have no idea who you are if it's somebody new. Even if they've been referred in by somebody, they don't know you. They're coming on somebody else's validation of you. So it becomes important to understand that they're going to have to go through their own process of judging you, and how you behave early on and then subsequently going forward is everything. So recognize that their standoffishness might be in direct response to how you treat them. Duh, right? And I'm not crapping on us. I'm just saying, duh, that's 101, how we want to be treated. Don't be humpful, be helpful. That's the key. So when you recognize that in yourself, what do you do differently with a home seller or a home buyer, depending on where they are in the process? You give. And then you have a small ask, and that ask becomes your offer. So it's even though you're asking, it's another offer that benefits them. How do you keep benefiting these home sellers and home buyers along the way so that they can see, well, he gave me this. She gave me this when I needed it. It helped me make a better, clear decision. Then they did this. You see what I'm saying? You're building this relationship of trust. And what it's doing is bringing that fear of being taken advantage of down. Wow, they really walked the walk. They didn't try to lock me into something and then take. Stop taking. Start giving. And recognize that it's this taking that people do to us that we then go out and repeat. And we're wondering why nobody wants to do business. We're wondering why people feel standoffish. Why'd they go dark? Why'd they almost get mad? Why'd that guy yell at me? I was just trying to show him a house. And he was rude. Well, why? Because you triggered something in them, or something triggered them. And we have to recognize that they're demonstrating that. And by the way, it's not about us. So the smaller you can make yourself as a guide, the less emotionally you react to their emotion, and you can accept it. Whoa, well, you sound upset. Did I say something that, triggered that? What am I missing here? I must have made a mistake. That's humility. Bring that into the situation. Bring that humility in to say you're not going to be right and you are going to do things incorrectly while you're building relationship, but you're also not a mind reader. So ask them, hey, you seem upset today. You okay? Hey, you seem a little stressed out by this process. Are you okay? Hey, I noticed that your paradigm is really to worry about this stuff and I want to sit down with you. And that's where the segue goes to the next point here. Once we recognize it in ourselves and we recognize how they demonstrate, and by the way, that DISC personality profile approach could be helpful. The D and the I might tell you, boom, right to your face, you're doing a shitty job for me and you need to make some adjustments, or I don't like the way you did that. Whereas an SC personality might withdraw and go dark on you. Well, I mean, working so hard for this person, they won't talk to me. Yes, right. Something's off. Lean in when the dog bites. Get in there. Find out and go face to face when you can. And that's my preference. And I'll give you a couple anecdotes here now. This week alone, I have been face to face with two of my sellers. One is well down the road, and the logistics of making the final piece of the move are just distressing. I don't even know what other way to say it for this poor gal, right? I mean, she has 3 kids that she has to move, and there's a lot of challenges there. It was time to go face to face and just sit down. So I made an appointment to do so, because the third point here that I want to make with that gal and another gal who's trying to move to Florida and is all packed up and ready to go, she was anxious and I was doing an open house. So I said, I'll meet you before the open house. So I go face to face when I can sense this fear of you're not protecting me, Danny. You're not helping me. You're not there for me. Hence, you are taking advantage of me. You don't care. That's what it all sounds like. So I go to the extreme, face to face. No more texting, no more emailing. We're going to lock down eye to eye, and we're going to talk about this. So now when that moment comes, here's my point, number 3. I stick to the safety of a systematic remedy. Huh? Well, remember, I made these folks a promise that was simple, that I had a 7-step plan to sell their property. And so what they need to be understanding along the way is where they're at. This has to be a completely transparent process so they know where in this process they are, so that they can feel like somebody is not taking advantage of them. And by the way, taking advantage of you is not overtly, I take something from you. It can be just, I go lazy on you. I'm not giving you the best chance to win here. And that is taking advantage of somebody. You lock the listing up and you go lazy on them after a promise. Not good. And they have the right, by the way, to question you all along the way. So when you feel things are off and communication has waned a little bit, get in there and say, okay, let's sit still. Your fear is what? Well, geez, I haven't heard anything, says one right before the open house, and I just need to know where we're at. And I said, well, look, here's the good news. We have all these co-broke showings. The feedback's been pretty good. We've got one person coming back for a second showing today. We have another one who's going through a tough situation with a divorce and needs to relook at her financing. And by the way, here's the text of me going back and forth with those folks so that you can see it. And all of a sudden, her shoulders started to drop. She started to calm down. Whew, can almost feel her exhale. It was kind of a cool moment. And then we got to laugh about some things because we are connected. I do like her. She does like me. There is likability. There is trust. I am positive. And I am totally transparent where I can show that in step number 5, after marketing, there's this communication or market making stage, which we're in at these open houses with this communication. Here it is. We're right here. We're moving along the continuum. And we're really close to getting into stage number 6, negotiation. Right? So she could see it based against the system, the 1-page infographic that I used to say, this is what I will do. And during the process, here's where we're at. And everything calms down. No longer does somebody feel lightly communicated with. They're very clear of where we're at. They're very clear if there are any adjustments that are needed. She was asking me, should I do anything? I said, no, not right now. I wish I could tell you there was something, but there's not. We just have to play this stage out a little bit more. So we were clear. Now, in the other case, I had to go face to face because we're in this closing process. That's a lot of moving parts, and it's difficult. But I felt like I had kind of withdrawn a little bit, letting the process of my closing department take over. But clearly, it's not smooth. And there was some emotional stuff that needed to be dealt with. And I went face to face and dealt with it and stayed there talking through it. Same thing. Back to the system. Hey, here's where we're at. Hey, here's why we started this to begin with. Hey, here's the math that you'll be left with when you're on the other side so that you don't feel taken advantage of and you feel like you are empowered when this is over, that you're in control much better financially, right, than you were when we started. So the system helps me stay less emotional. And I get emotional. Like, my gosh, I got to get myself up for this. I'm just like you. I'm an animal-based brain, and I just want to survive, and it feels like a lot of calories to go in and do this. But I have found that if I just take that Zen moment before I go into these conversations, I have faith, so I lean on my faith, and I said, hey, take me through this process. Let me be a servant to this person. And it just works against the system. That faith that, this is all going to work out if you can be the best, less emotional, more logical voice in the time of crisis against a system that's clear. These plans matter, folks. I'm just telling you, don't do this on muscle. Start doing it with a plan. You are serving people better. Now, as if it wasn't enough that I'm leaning into my mic today, right? The last point here is not losing yourself to that emotional crescendo in your entire business, not just these situations. But it is so easy for you, for me, for the rest of us to be triggered as the business person, as the guide by other people's emotions. Because when they really panic, they can hit you with a low blow. And then we can say, well, this isn't the type of person I want to work with, and this is it. I'm pulling my sign out, or I'm dumping that buyer. How dare they? Well, I've found that taking that into the bonus section a little bit further, I found a bigger version of myself. Right? Let that sink in. That instead of being that high ID personality that I am, DI on some days, ID on the others, emotional, direct to the point of being hurtful, I just dialed that way back. And I just said, come on, reel it in, boy, right? Pull it back here a little bit. And I don't lose myself to that emotional crescendo as they're spiraling and they're crescendoing and they're getting more emotional and they're saying things or they're passively aggressively texting things, whatever. It just keeps coming at you. It's a challenge. Can you do it? Can you hold it together? And you can feel yourself breaking up and you're ready to explode. But if you can find these moments of peace of mind and you can pull it back a little bit and you can understand it and empathize with them. Whew, man, if I were in her situation, I'd be feeling the same way. I got to get over there. This work matters. This lady needs to get to Florida and be involved in this artistic community that her heart so desires to be part of. This other gal needs to pack up these 3 kids and get into a better situation for herself. They need this to happen. And that is my job. No matter how many punches in the face I have to take from them while they're flailing, I need to take them. Bite me, kick me, scratch me, whatever it takes. I will get you across that finish line, and I will not allow my emotions to rule. I will stay logical, and I will find my own self-actualization, self-fulfillment, self-esteem in the fact that I was able to control myself, subsequently reel everybody else in, and carry the whole dang thing across the finish line. Sounds dramatic, but it's what we do every day. And there's nothing like that feeling when you get across there. So let me reiterate these points that are key. The number one fear that home sellers and home buyers have is being taken advantage of, and it has this massive global effect. The next point is you have to recognize how each consumer demonstrates it. Some are passive aggressive, some are flat out aggressive. You have to recognize it coming out in them. Go looking for it and look for it, especially early on where you have very little relationship because you just met them. That's where it really matters to see how somebody behaves. Next is that when it starts to crescendo out of control because something in the process triggers them, your best bet is to stick to the safety of a systematic remedy. Sit with them face to face is my number one recommendation. Show them in the buying process, in the selling process, where they are. Zero-based connecting, zero-based thinking. Bring them back to where they started the decision and how far they've come and encourage them. And the last point here is, remember, don't lose yourself in the emotional crescendo that strips your own logic and strips your own professionalism away like that. That's where you can really become an expert. All right. So to summarize this in one key point, one of the greatest fears that home sellers and home buyers have is being taken advantage of. The key is to recognize that as your core challenge that might be overcome by keeping yourself grounded in demonstrating a systematic and logical approach that calms their and your emotions and gets them to where they always wanted to be. All right, remember, you can take immediate action and get started in the right direction if you're new, or a better direction if you're a veteran, with our free, simple business plan. Includes an infographic right there in front of you. You can pin up on the wall. You get it all for free over freeagentgift.com. Please take me up on this. Okay, this is very helpful, and I wish I had it in the beginning. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on any of the insights every time that we upload, and we upload consistently and weekly. We also broadcast. We give you a little bonus, right? If you're paying attention here and you want to learn more specifically, we broadcast our live sales training calls on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 1 p.m. EDT. So go over to Facebook and YouTube for the Realty Classroom. Look for the Realty Classroom, the channel, and the page, and turn on those reminders. And it'll let you know when we are live so you don't forget. You can just eavesdrop in. You can be in the car. Just listen in as we deal with real challenges and these crescendos and these emotional moments in sales, whether it's the telemarketing end or in the field sales, we deal with them. Hey, we'd also appreciate if you would share our content. Please do that with other entrepreneurial real estate agents, I'll be all right, real estate agents just like you, so that they can get the help. Sharing is caring. We love it. And remember, thanks for listening. I'm so happy you're here, but I have to reiterate, nobody is coming for you. So you got to go to get to work on your own business. And I'll be right here next week in the next episode to help you do so. Thanks for tuning in.